All right, I want to bring in now my colleague, Greg Kelly, who was actually at the New York Stock Exchange with us for more of a brighter story today, because that was something that we were doing as Newsmax, was ringing the opening bell with our CEO, Chris Ruddy. You know, you were speaking to Lutnick yesterday. We knew that markets don't like uncertainty. All right, so we're looking. The market's down 1,400. We will hear more fear-mongering, Greg. But obviously, President Trump and his team have modeled this out. They were ready for some turbulence.
I'll note that Newsmax is up for the day so far, and that's good news. Yeah, I mean, he said in the State of the Union there's going to be some disturbance. I got to tell you, it's interesting. He's so positive all the time. He's so upbeat. And when he acknowledged that there's going to be some disturbance, that got my attention. Look, he's been talking about this for decades. This is one of the reasons why he ran to be president. You know, he wanted to level the playing field. He said it to Oprah Winfrey in 1988, I believe. And I think back to how often everyone else is wrong consistently, and how right he has proven to be so consistently, as I see the two of us there in the Oval Office just last week.
And I was going to say, we don't have to go back to 1988. You were making some news with him in the Oval Office last week. And you're right, he could have come in and not done some things that were bold, but he is making a commitment to bring back manufacturing and also decoupling from China. There's a lot of threads here that President Trump is seeing on the chessboard. I want to play a little bit of your interview.
Sure.
When you asked him specifically, Greg, about the tariffs, you knew this was coming.
How bad could those disturbances be, and how far are you willing to go when it comes to April 2nd? I know there are some exceptions, and it's an ongoing discussion, but...
Not too many. Not too many exceptions. No, I don't want to have too many exceptions. Yeah. Look, we've been ripped off for 45 years by other countries, 50 years more. We always were soft and weak. It's almost like we had people that didn't know what they were doing. We were just ripped as a country like nobody has ever seen before. That's why we owe $36 trillion in debt. And it's time that we get some of that money back.
Like someone who doesn't have a serious plan for what he's rolling out here.
Yeah, I have confidence in him. And, you know, if I listen to the dominant media, and I do, but I'm very skeptical of the dominant media. And again, not to dwell too much on personality and force of will that I do believe he has. He has this track record, you know, from the time he came down the escalator and beat 16 professional politicians who, oh, by the way, all believe in NAFTA and all believe in the status quo.
Sure.
This is not a man who came to his second term and beat all of those phony cases to coast. He said that out loud. I could have coasted. I don't want to coast. I'm not here to coast. I'm here to save America. And I think it would be great if we started building things again, and I do believe it can happen. The experts say no, it'll never happen. I do believe it will.
You know, Canada's, you know, some of them in Ontario said we're ready to make a deal. We're going to see some of these, you know, countries that have, you know, smaller economies, they're going to have to capitulate. That's what the economists are saying. So today, obviously not, you know, great news, but it is a hold on, let's wait and see. I do want to play a little bit of Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, because he really got into the nitty gritty right here on Newsmax with you last night. And here's what he said is the plan. This is what he expects to happen.
But what you're going to see is the most modern factories of the world come back here. We are going to start on one of the great training programs of the world to teach our employees what tradecraft is. You know, how to build factories, and not the old kind of factories. I'm talking the most modern, the most high-tech factories. When you say HVAC, what we're talking about is cooling a high-tech semiconductor plant, probably one of the coolest jobs you can have, right? Mechanics, fixing robotics. That's what's coming to America. The coolest factories, the highest tech factories, they're all coming home, and Donald Trump is bringing them home, and he's going to create a renaissance of high-tech manufacturing in America. That's why America's going to win.
There's already commitments, Greg. I mean, this is sort of the way you have to get competitive as well. And UAW is coming around saying, yeah, it's good for the auto workers. You know, this is kind of the American exceptionalism. And that's something that we should be proud of. This is very innovative.
Totally. And I have to defer to the experts on this. There are certain things I specialize in and certain things I don't. I will say this about Howard Lutnick, who I admire very much. I knew him when he was at Cantor Fitzgerald, and to see him there, you know, sometimes he can be too forthright in some of his interviews, according to dominant media. So I noticed he kind of scaled it back just a little bit, and that's fine. Look, those are the ways of you know, they're looking to hang you on every little word. But it looks to me like he is.